Hello, Amanda. Nice to meet you. Uh,
Hi, nice to meet you too.
uh, can you tell us something more about yourself, your story about how did you end up taking antidepressants? What you do for a living? And yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm a nurse. I am now 30 years old. I live in the US. I'll start by saying that.
Okay.
I started nursing when I was like 22, 23 is when I was going out into the real world and starting a really high stress ICU job. So intensive care unit is where I worked. So this is like patients that were cardiac arresting, and they were like the sickest patients we could get is who I was taking care of. And I had no prior experience. I was a new grad nurse, terrified. And my brother had just passed away like a year or two prior. So I feel like that triggered my anxiety to get so much worse because I hadn't even lost a grandparent or anything like when I lost my brother. So I was grieving and my anxiety levels were the highest they've ever been, which now I know it was probably a mix of childhood trauma, my brother passing away, the new job, and also my diet was not good and I was not exercising. So there were a lot of factors that were causing my anxiety.
It wasn't
But
chemical
I,
imbalance, right?
what'd you say?
I said that it wasn't a chemical imbalance, right?
Right, exactly. And it's funny because I had my first and only panic attack that I had ever had, and it was in a high stress environment situation in my job. So they were training me, my colleagues, and they threw me into this room of this patient who was, we call it crashing, like they were not doing well, and you had to work really fast. And I was shaking, like my hands were literally shaking, trembling. I stopped hearing things, like I couldn't hear people behind me or anything. It was really scary. And I was like, I can't do this job if I don't do something about this. And I also, in the same time, now that I think back to it, I had friends that were telling me, "Oh, I'm on this medication. It's really helped me," things like that. So I definitely took what other people were saying to me into my decision, and I ended up going to a primary care doctor who I had never seen before. It was my first time meeting her, and she prescribed me Lexapro in like a 10-minute visit. And then I also recently remembered her saying, "I think your anxiety has gotten so bad that it's caused depression." And I had not given her any reason to think that I had depression, which is really interesting. I think she heard that my brother passed away, and so she kind of like took that and was like, depression. And I believed it. I was like, okay, I guess I do. And then I started taking it, and I didn't question
But
anything.
back then, you
Like,
didn't have any idea about surviving antidepressants, all this inform. Yeah.
no. And all she told me was that if you ever, I said, "Are there side effects?" She said, "Lexapro has the least amount of side effects." That's what she said,
That's
which
what I heard
honestly,
when I was prescribed Zoloft.
really, okay. They say that for all of them then. Interesting. So, which is honestly, I did not have side effects when I was on it until like, I feel like some people, they take a psychiatric drug and they start having side effects right away, like multiple. And then they're like, okay, this is not the drug for me. I'm going to stop. But for me, I didn't see that. I didn't feel that. I was exhausted all the time, but I also was working night shift. So it's like I couldn't tell if it was because I was working overnight shifts or because of the drug. So I just stayed on it. And then once I started, it was like the third year of being on it, I started having some very interesting brain symptoms. So that was like like I was angry all the time. I was having like anger outbursts. To the point where my coworkers were like, "Are you okay?" It was very obvious. And then I started having ADHD symptoms, the worst I've ever had. I've never had ADHD before. I would be laying on the couch and I could not get up to do chores or anything. I had lost all motivation. I was angry, I had ADHD, I had all these things, like, my
And you,
cycles for my
I'm
period.
sorry to interrupt. Like,
You're fine.
have you been diagnosed with ADHD by the doctor, or it's like, uh,
No, no. Well, I ended up being
yeah,
diagnosed,
I know.
like, later down once I finally went to go try to get to the bottom of what was happening to me, because I was like, I thought I had, like, a brain condition or something was going on because I was always tired. I And then I started having physical symptoms too, like, skin things were happening, I would get lesions all over my skin. I'm like, "I must be developing," like, I thought I had cancer or something, but it all ended up being every symptom I was experiencing ended up being from Lexapro,
So
because now that I'm
during
tapering.
during the use, you were deteriorating. You have more and more physical symptoms and mental symptoms. You didn't re-stain. You didn't switch the meds. You were still on the same med, and
Yeah.
your well-being was deteriorating. Okay.
Yes, 10 milligrams is all I was on.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I ended up going to this clinic. They do like more of holistic view of what's going on with your brain.
Mhm.
And they did this thing called a SPECT scan. And I talk about this a lot because it's a huge part of my story. It's like this, me going to this clinic, if I did not, I would have never came off my Lexapro or tried to taper. I would have never started this journey. I would never be where I am today. And I'm so thankful for this because they kept saying, they're like, my scan did not look good. There were like holes all over my brain. And I was like, what is that from? And they're like, this part of your brain is super sleepy because of your Lexapro. They kept saying that. And I was like, okay. And that's that kept it stayed in the back of my mind, and finally I was like to my psychiatrist who was working at that clinic, thankfully I was talking to him because if it weren't for him, I would have probably gone to some other doctor that didn't know how to taper or anything like that, and they wouldn't have given me the liquid that I needed to taper. So I'm like, let's try coming off the Lexapro. And he's like, okay, let's do it. He didn't ask any questions. And then that's when I started cutting my pill and trying to do that. And then I quickly realized that that was not going to work for me. I needed the liquid and I needed to learn all about it. I joined all the Facebook groups. And that was back in January of 2023. So it's almost January of 2025. It's been about 2 years since I started that.
So
And I'm
you're
still
still
not
in
off.
the tapering process.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you feel right now, and what has changed since you started tapering?
I actually feel okay right now. I feel like every hour changes for me. Like if I eat something that doesn't agree with me, I have awful symptoms. If I don't get sleep the night before, I have terrible symptoms. If I do too big of a drop, I have terrible symptoms. So I actually stopped at 4 milligrams for a year. Like I held at 4 milligrams for a whole year because I needed my body to take a break. And I felt like that was the dose that I could handle. So I did that. And then this last July, I went down to I dropped to 3.6 milligrams. I just went down zero point 0.4 and my whole body like basically shut down and I'm still recovering. That was almost 6 months ago. And I developed dysautonomia. So, like POTS is a big thing that everyone's recently getting diagnosed with. I don't know if you're familiar with
Everyone
POTS.
in the antidepressants withdrawal community is being diagnosed with POTS. Yeah, I heard it so many stories. But this, I believe,
Yeah,
only is a part of a like a symptom of protracted withdrawal, basically.
yeah,
But you can
yeah,
diagnose it, of course. But and unfortunately, the tapering process is not linear. The receptor binding is not like the same if you switching from 4 milligrams to 3 milligrams and then from 3 to 2 milligrams. So it's not linear, and that's why you're having this wild withdrawals and symptoms that are changing over time. So it's devastating.
yeah. And the lower you go, the worse it gets.
There
So it's
of
like,
course, of course. And is something completely different is happening when you cold turkey. I did cold turkey, and I don't recommend
did.
it. Yeah, and
So
so
my twin, so I have a twin sister, and she cold turkeyed off 20 milligrams of Lexapro. I had no idea she did that.
Yeah,
She didn't tell anyone. She just stopped taking it. She thought it was fine. She's not a nurse.
yeah,
I don't know if me being a nurse, like I knew that I had to taper this drug, but she did not. And it just makes me so sad because so many people I'm sure do the same thing. They're like, "Oh, like no one ever warned me about this. I'll just come off." And then they're literally disabled. My sister had to live with my parents for over a year.
yeah.
She couldn't work, she couldn't do anything.
I totally understand. I was bedridden for 3 years when I called Turkey. For
3
three
years?
fucking years, I couldn't work. I couldn't do shit. And but I knew that I couldn't re-estate, because if I do, I will have this kindling effect, and I needed to survive this state. And hopefully, in the end, I survive this. I'm alive. I don't have suicidal ideation anymore. It's all good. But the
That's
point
good.
is, I believe that if you taper, you have more chances to go to have this withdrawal through this more smoothly than like I did. But on the other hand,
Yeah.
as we spoke before, my mother is tapering from 5 milligrams, and she did this for like, I don't know, 3 or 2 years or something like that, and she's very severe. So I also do believe that the correlation between tapering and severity of protracted withdrawal is, I don't know if it's that much, but each case is different. We cannot even compare to each other, because I heard so many stories, and each story is totally like different symptoms, different results from reinstatement or tapering. So yeah.
Yeah, and then you hear some people that are okay, and I'm like, "How?"
Yes, that they
It's
took it
very
for many years,
rare
and they
though.
couldn't ever fight. But you know, uh, I'm very skeptical about it, because I also knew stories when people quit the mess, they were fine for up to like year and a half, and then the withdrawal started to showing up, the protracted withdrawal. And in my case, it took me 8 months to see the difference when I called Turkey. I was for 8 months, I was totally fine. I thought, okay, this drug has no impact on my life. Like, it is great. I can take it whenever I want. They are like, but then it hit me. So I do believe that people who claims that they are fine when they were long-term users, they just didn't hit the protracted withdrawal yet, because there is like no chance that there is like, from biological perspective, there is no way that something that impact your nervous system has no consequences in the long run. So how can it be like, if
Yeah,
you drink alcohol, you have
and it's so sad. I never thought about it like that. Like, I never thought this is something that can literally, like, impact my brain so much.
yeah.
I I I don't know, it's just like you think, "Oh, I'm just taking a
It's
pill."
just a fucking
Like,
pill. Yeah.
it's just a pill, it won't do anything, but then literally all of us have what I like to call brain damage.
Of
It's
it's
literal brain
iatrogenic brain
damage.
injury. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's heartbreaking, and I hear people will comment on my TikToks because I always post on TikTok about this, and they're like, "Oh, I stopped last week, I'm doing fine." I'm like, "Can you please watch yourself? Like, I
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
them,
Watch out.
monitor
Let's
yourself for
let's talk about
symptoms."
it within few months. Yeah.
Scary. It's scary, and I feel like doctors should be required to take like research lessons on this. Like there needs to be something incorporated in the medical schools. Nursing is actually kind of scary with it because there's a huge boom of we were talking about nurse practitioners earlier, of psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners,
Mhm.
and the need for them has skyrocketed, and it's because our mental health problems have skyrocketed.
Of
I
course.
don't know about Poland, but America is awful with it right now.
Um, in Poland, like same here. Like, and we in Poland, we still do believe in chemical imbalance theory. So we are like 20 years behind US, and yeah. Hopefully, you have
No,
met in
people here still
America.
believe.
Could you repeat? Sorry.
People in the US still believe that. It's still, I don't think they're seeing the new research that's come out, and they still believe that.
Yeah, and what you said, like people who quit antidepressants, they do believe that they are okay, like they are fine when they quit, and they don't see correlation between protracted withdrawal and antidepressants use. They think that it's recurring depression or other symptoms, and they here we go again, reinstate the drug, and boom, you're a lifetimer.
Exactly. That if I could highlight anything from this video, it would be what you just said.
Yeah,
Because that's how it is. It's like it's a life, and so many people will comment and they're like, "I'm on this med for life." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." But now that I've tapered and I'm not even fully off, I still have a long way to go, but I the emotions that I'm able to feel now are like, I mean, sometimes it's not good. I know a lot of people have negative emotions when they try to taper off, but I can actually feel joy now. I feel panic sometimes because that's withdrawal, but, like, I literally get so happy with just, like, watching a good movie or seeing the colors of the tree as outside, and I was so numb
of
before.
course. This is the biggest reason to quit those meds, to actually regain
Yeah,
your emotional range, your sexuality, your cognition, everything. Like basically to feel like a
yeah.
human being again. This is the reason why it's worth it. But hopefully,
So are all your sym sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah. Please, sorry.
Are all your symptoms gone now?
I believe I do. Like for me, it's been like 15 years I was I'm 34 right now. When I start taking
Okay.
drugs, I was like 19. So it's been a long journey. I'm a different person now, and it's uh, it's been 6 years since I quit, and I I uh, I just rebuilt myself. Like I'm a completely different person. I do enjoy life. I do enjoy sex. So I consider myself like recovered. I do still feel grief that I lost so many years. I suffered for so many years, but it's I'm not suicidal anymore. I can participate in social events. So it's like it's yeah.
It's bittersweet, huh?
Yeah, it's bittersweet. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I still, I do process grief. Like I have this maybe some kind of trauma response sometimes, and it's still I'm very fragile regarding this issues. But the point is, like, I'm right now I'm helping others to going through this challenging process. So I'm on the other side, like like.
That's awesome. So you talk to a lot of people going through withdrawal?
Yeah. I'm like the first guy in Poland doing this, and like I thought, okay, since I was suffering for so much, let's do something positive about it. And now I'm just giving this like consultations regarding tapering, regarding protracted withdrawal. So I'm just you in US you have Joseph with Daring, you still have Angeli Peacock, you have a few other guys. But in Poland, like we only have doctors who will reinstate the drug or switch the meds, so there is no one you can turn to.
And that's still common in a lot of places, but you're doing great work trying to help
But you
people
also
in
have a
Poland.
website. I saw your website, and you also have this database with surviving antidepressants, all this information. So you also, I believe, you
Oh,
also
yeah.
contribute.
I don't have a website yet. I wanna make a website.
Yeah.
But I have, like when you click the link in my bio, it comes up with all these articles because then people can't tell me I don't know what I'm talking
I
about.
have checked it. Yeah, it's good. It's a great start. You have like the database of scientific articles of media with the medicating normal. Yeah, I do checked it, and it's great. Like I believe this is the only way to go. Since we were suffering for so long, why don't we give it back? Like I survived because of thanks to surviving antidepressants. Because if I haven't go to this website, I would probably kill myself because I didn't know what was going on with me.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm
And there's so
sorry for
many
being
people
so
just
blunt,
like
but
that.
yeah.
Well, you look great. You look like you're doing really well,
I
and I'm
was
glad you
not.
made
I
it
was
through that.
totally fat, obese, and swollen, like on this antidepressants. Yeah, but from my perspective, like the only way to survive is to actively participate in the healing process. You cannot be a couch potato because the longer you are, the more severe you will become. And Yeah, and you look
Yeah.
great too. Like you look healthy, but deep down, I know
Thank
that
you.
you're still struggling. I don't know. Yeah, I know.
I feel like withdrawal, like, ages people. At least it aged me.
Like
Like, I feel
mentally
like I'm,
or
like,
physically.
45.
Like mentally or physically.
Both, but mainly physically, like, I swear, like, my hair since I've gone through this whole process, my stress hormones are so messed up that I, like, lost people gain weight, but I actually lost, like, 20 pounds when I went through my destabilization back in, July, and then, like, I've developed, like, gray hairs on the top of my head because it's just I mean, I talked to other people in withdrawal, and they said they've developed it too, and I think it just puts so much stress on the body. But I know it's gonna go away eventually, it's just, like,
Yeah.
really hitting my body in a negative way right now, but
And do you keep up with with a healthy diet? Do you do keto or all this stuff? Or
I try, like, when I held at 4 milligrams for a whole year, I my gut was doing so well because I cut out gluten and dairy for almost a whole year. I stopped drinking alcohol. I gave up
great.
recently, I actually gave up caffeine completely except decaf, and that's helped me a lot. But I don't know. Some days I'm like, I feel so awful no matter what I eat. So I'm like, I'm just gonna eat whatever I want, which is so bad because I know it's just it's making me worse. But most of the time, I try to eat healthy.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't eat fast food or anything like that ever.
Yeah, it is good to resolve sugar addiction for sure. Like because your microbiome is disrupted by these drugs, so keep your diet clean. And in my case, it was like a game changer regarding my recovery process. This and stimulating brain-derived neurotropic factor by physical activity, like heavyweight lifting and all this stuff. And because there is no magic pill to undo this harm. There is no drug or supplement to treat it, so you need to go through it the best you can to basically survive.
The only way out is through, is what I tell
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, yeah. So like there's this saying, like when the hold on when the going gets weird, the weird turns pro.
Yes.
Yeah, it's by Hunter
That's
S. Thompson.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and they are my favorite one was is also like he who makes a beast out of himself get rid the pain of being a man, and it's like
That's good too.
it perfectly describes my journey with protracted withdrawal because I became totally insane. Like in the when I was in the severity, like at my worst, I was very like aggressive, very totally unpredictable, and yeah, and but right now I still have this grief, and I'm easily triggered by things that I related to this condition, but it's like it's different now. So it's
That's
like
good.
post-traumatic stress disorder, basically.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say PTSD, and so many people get PTSD from what they go through with this.
Yes, it's different than typical PTSD because when you have from some events in your life, if you have PTSD, like your brain is intact, but with this, it's like PTSD and brain injury, and it's like and unresolved trauma
Yes.
from the past because there were a reason why we took these fucking pills.
It was just blank it was numbing all that, so we didn't have to deal with it.
Yes, yeah, but you have to deal with it anyway, with your anxiety, with your depression, let's say. So, yeah,
Good times.
yeah, it's
Did you ever experience, I can't say the word, Adahonia?
unhedonia.
Adonia?
Yeah,
Yes.
I like lack of
Did you
plan.
ever have?
Yeah, I couldn't watch movie. I couldn't read book. I couldn't enjoy sex. I couldn't enjoy anything like socializing. Uh, my attention span was so short, so short. When I was watching a movie and I couldn't tell what was it about. Like I didn't have any clue of the plot. And it was yeah, I was enjoying music before. I was going to the all the concerts and stuff, and I couldn't. I did the like reality check. I went for this like Queens of the Stone Age concert, and I didn't feel shit. I was just there, and it was because before the Mets, I was crying. I was enjoying all this. I was yelling with the lead singer and all this stuff, and I lost, and it was very upsetting for me because, but hopefully it resolved. And then I did, after a few years, I did another reality check, let's say, and it improved. And right now I once again I can sing, I can dance to music, and it's,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, so
I
it,
hear several people that experience it, and I'm so thankful that has not been one of my symptoms, but I've had like 50 plus symptoms. I have had every physical symptom you could have except seizures, pretty much. But I hear about this and I'm like, if I had that on top of everything else that I have, I don't know how I would go through this.
it's great that you don't have the symptoms. It's very, yeah, yeah, it's you cannot participate in life with anhedonia. You cannot motivate yourself to to take care of yourself, of your body. So it's great that you only have physical symptoms. But
But I do have the agoraphobia sometimes where I don't want to leave my house. I
mhm.
feel like that's a little bit psychological. And then also I've had auditory one time I had an auditory hallucination,
Oh,
which was terrifying. And then I also have sometimes I have paranoia. Like if I think I hear something outside, I laugh, but it's actually really scary. I'll look out my blinds for like 5 minutes to make sure no one's there. And I'm like, "Why am I acting like this?" Like, I never used to be scared like this before.
and it's like it's subsiding over time, or is it like you have this one
Yeah.
once a week, or how is it? Because I didn't have those.
Yeah, I feel like after the really bad destabilization in July is when I started having all these new things, and it was really bad. I had, akathisia too, but that has gone away since I stopped drinking caffeine. I think the caffeine was making it a lot worse. I was pacing nonstop in my apartment, which was just so scary now to think about because it just scares me for other people because I know what's happening to me, so that kinda brings me, like, calmness because 'cause I'm like, "I know it's withdrawal, I know it'll get better." Like, I have to believe that or else I won't get
It's
through
great
it.
that you have this awareness, because otherwise you would go to the doctor, or you would be prescribed antipsychotics for that matter,
3 more meds, and
or
that is
three or
what
four, yeah.
happens to so many people. I talk to so many people from every different country every day, they message me, especially on TikTok. Um, I'm talking to one guy from India right now. The other day, it was from, remember the country, but all over. And it's so scary how much people don't know, and that's why I'm trying to talk about it more so that they don't go to the doctor and get poly drugged, and then they're even more like brain damaged than
And
they were before.
I don't know if you've ever heard about medication spellbinding. It's like when patient is not aware of the symptoms, and that it's the underlying condition is drug related. It's not they like the symptoms that they were dealing with. And I had my my ex girlfriend. She was prescribed. I advised her to go to a doctor because I was high on sertraline back then, and I told her because she had severe trauma from her childhood, and told her, okay, let's go to a doctor, and you will be prescribed drug that will take the edge off the pain. And 7 years later, like, we broke up, and she's still on the meds. She cannot quit them. And when I told her, Leila, look, this is the meds that you are dealing with. All your symptoms, your anhedonia, your depression. It's not what your doctor is gaslighting you. That it's not your PTSD. That it's not your underlying. And she still believes that doctor. She's also a doctor. She graduated in medical faculty, but she cannot be convinced that underlying condition is not like, it's not her trauma. It's the meds. It's themselves. Like,
Oh my
and I feel
gosh.
so sorry for her. Like, there is nothing I can do to help her, because I cannot, change her mind, and she's still in this narrow mindset. Uh, and it's it's like a plug, because I recommended it to my ex-girlfriend. I recommended those drugs to my mother when she was divorcing my father. So it's like, and I was recommended
Uh,
my other friend when I was studying cognitive neuroscience. I was recommended it by my friend. So it's it's even worse than a COVID, you know.
yes, it's like the once you hear about it from someone else, and that's just it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah, I
seeing some scary things on social media where top influencers I don't know if you know do you know who Alex Earl is?
yes.
She has like 7 million followers, a lot of them being young women, like young, like high school or younger. And that she posts about her being on Lexapro. She's done it like 3 times in the last couple months. And she was like carrying a bag in her video the other week. It was like a grocery bag. And she's like picking up my girl groceries. And it was her Lexapro. And she literally put my Lexapro and Chipotle. So she's saying that she's going to go pick up her girl groceries and it's her Lexapro. And then you have all these young women commenting, "What's Lexapro? What's Lexapro?" And then like they're gonna want to be on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Sad. I'm like, stop it. Stop.
Advertising drugs,
Please stop.
it's totally, it's like, fuck.
Poland, are you guys allowed to advertise drugs
In Poland, no.
on
But
TV?
I saw advertisements in US, like Zoloft advertising with this small.
Yes. So Netflix, Hulu, all those TV platforms now, they all have ads and every single one I've seen lately is a pharmaceutical.
Yeah. In Poland,
It's just
I do believe
it's
that
sad.
their doctors are being sponsored and they do get some like I don't know, tickets for some expensive vacation holidays or stuff like that. But we do not advertise drugs on TV, hopefully. But the prescription rate is increasing, and we are still like far away from so
Yeah.
we're about to possibly we will launch Met in Poland, so hopefully we will spread the awareness of like this false disease model that it's like it's totally devastating, and people are looking for quick solution, quick fix, but there is no quick fixes in life. You have to deal with life. And sorry for saying that, but
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
I wish I knew better like 15 years ago, but yeah, it is how it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We can't that's the hardest part is like I blame myself so much, but I'm like there's literally nothing I can do about it now.
Yeah.
So all I have to do is get through it and then hopefully help people one day get through it too.
Yeah, but sometimes you need to let go. Like if you cannot convince someone that he's wrong about stuff, that you have to let go, and it's very painful because you. I wish I could help some of my friends who are also on the meds, but they are so like blinded, and they think that these meds are doing good job and they are restoring their imbalance and they are helping with the anxiety or stuff, and then but knowing the truth is sometimes painful because you cannot spread the truth.
Ignorance is bliss is what they
Ignorance,
say.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Ignorance is.
But I agree. I feel like there's a lot of people that I talk like so many comments on my post are like these medications save so many lives and I'm like okay, I get that. I get that they can help with depression, but I was never put on it for that. I was put on it for anxiety.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. But you had anxiety for a reason. It's like protective mechanism. It's okay to feel anxiety when you were, I don't know, traumatized by somebody. So it's normal that you do feel anxious about stuff when you were traumatized. So there is nothing to be treated like.
yeah. I also feel like I wish um I don't know, I just wish I was offered something else, but doctors in the conventional medicine space are not trained to do anything else. Like I feel like they should have been like, "How's your diet?"
Yeah,
And they didn't ask me
they
that.
don't care.
So,
Yeah, yeah. They just yeah, because they need to sell prescribe the pills, and if the drug company they have agreement, and if you prescribe 10,000 of those drugs, you will get free ticket to Hawaii or whatever. Yeah, and yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, this is how it works right now in Poland. Like psychiatrists, they don't prescribe sick leave longer than 2 weeks, because you need to come back to them and pay them another for another appointment to get it, to get your sick leave for longer than 2 weeks. And it's a business. Like my perspective has changed a lot. Like now I see through. I see through this charade, and it's fucking devastating.
It is, but also I feel like it's a good thing that we're awake to this.
Yeah, yeah. But it's upsetting at the same time that and
Yes.
there is nothing. I cannot even argue with people, because their mindset is so strong that they still believe in this propaganda, that I only can relate to people from the community, that they who has been through this protracted withdrawal or had this experience with iatrogenic injury. But otherwise, with people on the meds or people who are new to this, there is no way to convince them that they actually might be wrong about this, that they have the wrong mindset. But
Yeah, and I don't even really try,
yeah,
like, if people comment on my stuff saying that, I'm like, "That's great, I'm glad it's working for you, but if you ever try to come off and you need help or if you're, like, having a really hard time, I will be here for you."
I did.
Like,
I did the same. I left the same message to my ex girlfriend, for instance, and tell her, like, if you need something, let me know. But I stopped arguing with her, because it was pointless. Yeah, yeah. This is the only
yeah,
thing we can do about it, to support people who are not aware of the long lasting consequences.
yep, and there are definitely consequences, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not gonna be without consequences. Like, you cannot expect to have no consequences when you take drugs for like 6 years every single day. Just
Yeah.
just because it's in a pill form and it's being prescribed by the doctor, it doesn't mean that it's not. It could be as well as street drug. If it would be in a powder form, it could be prescribed, like it could be still on the black market. And in Poland, there are groups when they are selling antidepressants as a drug on the black market, when you can pay, and they are being advertised as a serotonin booster, and you get similar high to MDMA. And it's quite a little bit true in that, because you sometimes do get high from antidepressants. Like, you can be in mania state, or you can have like very elevated mood. Yeah, you had.
I feel like I was manic sometimes, and I didn't realize what it was until I started to come off. I'm like, "That was definitely mania, how I was acting."
Yeah, same here. Like, my mood was through the roof. I was just going down the street and I was talking to random people. I was doing crazy stuff, and I don't
Yeah,
want to go deep down into this, because it's good that I hasn't been locked down in the jail because I was totally. Yeah, I was.
in the jail.
Yeah, I was doing some very crazy stuff on these drugs, and when I quit, I was quite the opposite, because I was severely anhedonic. But when I was tapering, I was still my mood was elevated. When I discontinued for few other months, my mood was still high. So, like, I don't want to say this, but there is a chance, unfortunately, even for you. And when you taper down to zero, your mood might also, in the time, decrease from this point. So keep this in mind, that
Like my Adahonia, you
yeah, yeah,
think?
anhedonia,
Yeah.
anhedonia, and yeah, like, it can show up. I wish it won't, but brace yourself.
See, the only thing that makes me hopeful that that's not gonna happen is that my sister who came off cold turkey, she's had all the symptoms I've had, but she did not experience that.
Oh, that's great. And
So
how
I'm like, hopefully that means that I will not.
and for how long she's been off the meds?
It's been almost 2 years now, but she has a panic attack every night, every single night.
Okay, okay. Ok- But do you think it's drug related, or is it something else?
I think it's this because it's just been nonstop ever since she came off, and it's been a new symptom. Like, I think I don't know. I started doing CBD because I feel like it helps me, and I just sent her a whole package of CBD gummies. So I'm hoping it helps her. But I know supplements are not always
Yeah.
the, like sometimes they do more harm than good. So I don't want to advertise that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
THC is more potent, but I don't recommend it.
Oh, I will not touch THC. I actually, when I was on Lexapro, my full dose, I started taking THC gummies, and then when I stopped, my eye twitched for 2 months.
Oh.
And
Oh,
they say that THC is not addictive. I think it's
it is,
addictive.
of course, it is. It's totally addictive. Like,
Yeah.
try to smoke for 2 weeks in a row and then quit it. You will have anxiety, you will have aggression, all this stuff. It's addictive. So,
Yeah. So, did you random question, did you drink alcohol on your medication?
when I was on the drugs,
Yeah.
I did. I even took
So
LSD.
did
I did. I was totally like, yes, I did. Guilty.
okay, I guilty. No, and everyone does, and I swear it's so
I
bad
was
now that
disinhibited.
I'm looking
I
back.
was disinhibited.
And now I'm actually so I follow her name's Dr. Terrelyn, Dr. T. I don't know if you follow her, but she's like a researcher in psychology and I actually did a podcast with her, but she has been looking into the link between alcoholism and these
Of
drugs.
course, you crave for food, for sugar, for alcohol, for any psychoactive because you are being in this submania state or mania state, whatever you call it, and you crave for addictive substances. Yes.
Yes, and dopamine. Like I was
Dopamine,
always
yeah.
looking for dopamine and like I was shopping like crazy, impulse
Oh, so
spending.
you had mania, just like me.
Yes, I swear that is what I had. I had mania. But and I drank before I was on the med. Like I'm not gonna say I didn't drink, but I feel like when I was on Lexapro, I had such bad hangovers, like the worst ever. I would not leave my bed all day.
Yeah,
I would black out all the time, which is because like you're literally not supposed to drink on these meds.
yeah,
And I put myself in some really like scary situations and now that I know what I know, I'm like, I feel like it might have been kind of related a little bit. Um, but yeah, I think that's scary because it can, the research, I guess, is coming out saying that like something with these medications, what they do to the brain, it makes you want to drink more,
yeah.
which is just
Yeah,
crazy to me.
they mess up with a reward circuit in the brain. Like you're craving for
Yeah.
dopamine because there is like the more serotonin you have, the less dopamine you have. Those neurotransmitters are correlated, and they, you know, how to say it, like. I forgot the word for it. But the point is that they are, once go up, the second goes down, and the brain is always uh,
Compensating, trying to
compensating. Yeah,
compensate.
compensating. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, it took me a minute to figure it out too. My
Yeah,
brain is a little
compensating.
slow.
That's right. Yeah, the brain always compensating. Thank you. Oh,
Yeah. Yep.
end of tongue syndrome I had. It was so irritating.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I couldn't figure it out either.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so
But I did crazy stuff when I was on the meds, and when I quit, I also wasn't good. But uh, but yeah, but it's good, to be on the other side and see that I'm not alone in this. That there are others who overcame this and helping. We are helping each other out, and if somebody told me like 10 years ago that I was actually doing this and launching my website and all this stuff, I wouldn't believe. But it's
but look at you go.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and just you're doing like you're also starting from what I see with you don't have website, some kind of, I don't know how to say, like link tree. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
I'm trying. I don't know if that even really I don't know if people look at that or not. I have no idea.
yeah, yeah. I did my research before this podcast, so I did, and yeah, it's all there. Like I don't know if you heard about Outro project. with Mark Horowitz.
Outro Health.
Outro Health, I believe. Yeah, Outro Health with Mark Horowitz.
They opened a tapering clinic in the US, which is so cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I applied for the job actually there, but uh, yeah, but
Wait, they had a job?
like yeah they actually no, they were looking for some person related to marketing, like posting on Instagram and all this stuff, but I applied for a psychiatric drug withdrawal consultant. But it's difficult for me since I'm from Poland. I do believe that they think, oh, some guy from Poland, but you can do this. As a,
Yeah, well, maybe I'll my dream is to work with them, honestly.
yeah,
Like, I would love to.
same here. Like I applied to Joseph with Durek, I applied to Ultra, but I since I'm not based in US, maybe it's more difficult for me. But
Well, that means you just need to open your own in
I'm
Poland.
do yes, in Poland I'm like the pioneer. Yeah.
Yeah, and people need people like us, so
Yeah, people do need, and now in US there's like the prescribing model, right? That there are doctors who are specializing in deep prescribing. Now they did tremendous harm, and now we're gonna go with the prescribing and open taper.
but no, I think it's just Dr. Horowitz and Dr. Joseph who
Yeah.
are doing that because most doctors, no, I'm still
There are a
hearing
few
every
others,
day.
yeah, I met a few.
Yeah, there's a couple others.
Yeah.
But most of the time people are still going to their psychiatrist and they're still telling them just come off or my favorite is when they say take one every other day for 2 weeks and then stop. It's like don't act like you know what you're doing when you clearly have
Yeah,
no
you have
idea.
no idea, and that's what I heard. Like you
And
can quit it abruptly, and you will be fine. And she was right to some point when I did it, when I start hitting the drug withdrawal, and then reinstatement one times, another time, and I wish, but we didn't know. How could we know? Like,
no. And my sister tells me that too. She feels like extreme guilt that she just came off and I'm like, "Well, you had no idea, like because no one ever told you."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and I at that point when she came off, I had no idea she was even on Lexapro because me and my sister we're not like super close. We fight all the time. And then she didn't tell me she came off. So she started having all these symptoms. Her doctors almost diagnosed her with MS,
Hmm.
multiple sclerosis.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's another thing that I could
I,
get
I have
into
been
and go on a
diagnosed
tangent.
with this as well. Like when I was in,
Really?
yes, I had an fMRI scan, and I was suggested that my cognitive issues was related to multiple sclerosis, and every story I heard, like because when you are in the withdrawal, you go from one doctor to another, and being overdiagnosed with some different. I was in had appointment with neurologist, with endocrinologist, all this stuff. And multiple sclerosis was one of the diagnosis assumption of multiple sclerosis. I was prescribed memantine, piracetam for this mild cognitive impairments, but it was related to antidepressants. So. Oh man, every story is
It's always all develop like it all goes around the antidepressant, and
yes,
it's so sad because people don't know they don't know, and then they're just not only poly-drugged, but poly-diagnosed.
of course.
Like, they're just diagnosed with all these things, and then they just I think a lot of people need to be better about listening to their bodies and not just saying, "Oh, because this doctor says I have this diagnosis, I'm on I'm diagnosed with this for life. There's nothing I can do."
Yeah, but the issue with
It's
listening
their
to
whole
the issue with listening to your body is that when you are on antidepressants, you are totally muted and numb. You cannot even feel your body properly.
Yeah, but I don't know, something about what was happening to me, I knew, but that's because I was having so many signs.
Okay.
But I had no idea it was from the drug for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
It took a long time to figure that out, probably like a year and a half.
It's difficult to match the dots, right? Between like that, it's
Mhm.
drug related. It's not some underlying condition. Yeah, but
Yeah. So,
yeah. So thank you for joining my podcast and
You're welcome.
It was great to having you, and thank you for sharing your story. I hope that somebody can benefit from this, and you know, if every person who's saved from this drugs is it's a win for the community, because, or even, the informed consent. What's it called? Information consent. I for
Informed consent.
Informed consent, right? So this is what we need to do, and since doctors are not willing to inform consent patients, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I think it's great, and you should definitely keep doing what you're doing because you're probably helping a lot of people.
yeah, yeah. So 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 thank you, Amanda. It was nice meeting you.